Hi, welcome back to the Fantasy Ball Profits. Thanks for joining me today. My name is Rob Skudovic. As you guys know, if you've been following us for a while, we're starting to pick up the pace again on our videos. We're getting back into football season. Just prior to the NFL draft, we're getting pretty excited. We're going to be rolling out some new information for you there. We got a new website that we improved from last year. For those of you that have been with us for a while, thanks for watching. We really appreciate it. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe, like, share comments, questions. We want to hear your thoughts, even when you disagree with us, which, by the way, I love that. I love to hear pushback from time to time. We're not always going to agree, and that's all right. And so this is the first of what we call quarterback ranking video, the first of many. We're calling actually our early quarterback rankings for 2018. The reason why it's early is a lot's going to change. Obviously, we haven't had the NFL draft. Training camps are going to happen. We'll have injuries, things like that. And so we'll put out some other videos. But right now, this is our early quarterback rankings. Just some things for you to consider. Now, before we actually get into our rankings, we begin to rank our top 33 quarterbacks at this point. There's something that's really important that we want you to consider when you're looking at drafting a quarterback. One, if you're looking at winning your league, it's really hard to win if you have a glaring deficiency in your lineup. Honestly, top to bottom, you need to have a solid team, and that includes having a solid quarterback. With that said, we strongly encourage you to wait to take your quarterback. If you are in a redraft league, wait. If you're in a keeper league, we suggest you not to keep a quarterback, to keep another position like a running back or wide receiver, and then take your quarterback later on. Now, here's why we believe that. I've used this philosophy for years, and I've won lots of leagues with it and can be very successful. Things have changed through the years. Football has evolved, as you know. You go back to the 60s, 70s, even the 80s, and look at where we are today. The league has become more passer friendly. More and more teams are running spread formations, shotgun formations. Tight ends are no longer just used for blocking. Now tight ends are brought in to have good hands and be part of that. And so they want a legitimate tight end that can receive the ball. And all this means that more quarterbacks are putting up bigger numbers, more touchdown passes, more yards. And according to the law of supply and demand, it kind of drives down the value for quarterbacks. And so I want to just give you a kind of comparison, just something to kind of put this into perspective. Let's take, for example, the plateau of 30 touchdown passes. Now, it used to be back in the day, if you hit 30 touchdown passes, you were in the MVP conversation. That was very rare to do that. In fact, back in 1994, only 3 quarterbacks hit that plateau. We shared this information on our mock draft video. So back in 1994, only 3 quarterbacks reached 30 touchdown passes. That was Marino, Favre, and Steve Young, right? Now let's look at 2015. Back in 2015, 11 quarterbacks reached 30 touchdown passes. 2 more ended up with 29, and 3 more were on pace to have 30 touchdown passes before an injury shortened their season. With that said, I'm not saying you shouldn't draft an Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, if he's still there late in the 3rd round, you need to grab him, but he's not going to be. I'll tell you why. Some owner's going to get too excited. He's going to get caught up in the big names. He's going to take him too early. Don't be that guy. Don't be that ignorant guy. Don't get caught up in your emotions. Wait to take a quarterback. So what's going to happen when everybody gets excited and it comes the inevitable quarterback run and people start to take him, be patient, build up your running backs, build up your wide receiver, build up your bench depth, and you'll still get a very quality quarterback. In fact, a prime example, if you look at last year, in many leagues, Carson Wentz, Shawn Watson, and Alex Smith went undrafted. Yet those guys went on to have very good years and help a lot of owners through that. So don't get too excited. Don't take a quarterback too early. And so this quarterback ranking is pre-draft. Obviously, I think tomorrow, Thursday, is beginning the NFL draft. They're going to begin to draft quarterbacks. That's going to change a lot of the outlooks on some of these teams we're going to mention. But as of today, before the NFL draft, here is our rankings. So the number one guy that we have there on the list is Aaron Rodgers. That's kind of a no-brainer for a lot of you. Now, last year he broke his collarbone. He was on pace to have 43 touchdown passes if you projected that out. Now, if you look at his statistic, it says he played in 7 games, but the reality was he only played in 6 because in the Vikings game he got hurt in the first quarter. If you look at this guy, he's one of the greatest quarterbacks ever. Now, I'm not a Packer fan, I'm a Viking fan, so it's hard for me to say, but I got to be honest with you, he's a great quarterback. In fact, he's the only quarterback in NFL history with a quarterback rating a career quarterback ranking of over 100. In fact, his career quarterback rating is 103.8. That's phenomenal. Since 2011, if you look at Aaron Rodgers' per game statistics, extrapolate over 16 games, he's averaging 38 touchdowns per year. In 8 of 11 seasons as a starter, he's had a quarterback rating of over 100. There's no reason to believe that trend doesn't continue this year. He's extremely competitive. He's got very solid wide receivers around him, too. You got Cobb, Adams, and the addition of Jimmy Graham is going to help. Now, I think a real bonus for owners, if you have Aaron Rodgers this year, is that fact that on paper, the Packers really didn't improve that defense. And that was a defense that struggled a lot last year. In fact, last year, they were 26 in points allowed. And so that means that they're going to have to win games by putting points up on the board. They're going to have to win games with his arm. And that's going to bode well for fantasy owners who have Aaron Rodgers. So number 2 on that list for me is Russell Wilson. 2 of the last 3 years, Russell Wilson has had 34 touchdown passes. Now, in 2016, he did have a bit of a setback. Sandwiched between those 2 years was 2016. He struggled. That struggle was due primarily to two major things. One, bad offensive line play. The offensive line was a mess. Got hit hard often. He got injured early. Had nagging leg and ankle injuries. Now, last year we predicted he was going to rebound, and he did. He rebounded, had a good year. One of the things that's nice about him, he's a very, very good quarterback, and his legs are a bonus, really. So if you compare him to Cam Newton, let's take a look at Cam Newton and Russell Wilson, right? So Cam Newton's legs and ability to rush for rushing touchdowns are better than Russell Wilson's. But Russell Wilson's a much more polished quarterback. Another thing I think that bodes well for him, very similar to Aaron Rodgers, is Seattle's lost a lot of big names on defense. That's going to hurt their defense. I think their defense is going to take a step back this year, which means they're going to have to win games on Russell Wilson's arm and that offense. Do I have concerns for Russell Wilson? I do have a few. One, I think that Baldwin's a good wide receiver. After that, you got Jerron Brown, Ed Dixon, Tyler Lockett. Those are not great options there. I'd like to see him some better weapons, although Tyler has some potential, and maybe this is the year he takes it to the next level now that Richardson is gone. My number 3 guy out there is Tom Brady. So if you look at Tom Brady, age really hasn't slowed Tom Brady. In fact, the last 3 years, he's had 3 consecutive years of a quarterback rating of over 100. If you look, that's as many as he had the previous 15 seasons combined. He takes very good care of his body. He avoids a lot of serious injuries, minus 2008. Minus 2008, he's only missed 5 total games in the other 17 seasons combined. Now, he has lost Amendola, Lewis, and Cooks in the offseason. That's going to hurt a little bit. But he does get return of Julian Edelman this year. They have Hogan, Gronk, Matthews, Cordell Patterson, Burkhead, White, Kenny Britt. So they should be fine in terms of their weapons. They like to spread the ball around. They like to have many different options there. That's kind of their MO. Eventually, this guy's going to drop off. Obviously, he's getting older. But we take a look at Tom Brady, where he's at statistically, that team. And we think he's got at least one more good year left in him. We think this year he's going to be fine. Once again, this is not dynasty rankings. These are redraft rankings of 4-23-17. So we like Tom Brady as the number 3 guy there. Number 4 guy is Carson Wentz. This guy is great. In fact, I'd be ranking him even higher if it wasn't for his injury. Got to see how he recovers from that. Last year, before the ACL tear, he was on pace for 41 touchdown passes, and really was on pace not only to have that, but to win the MVP. This guy should have won the MVP. In fact, he didn't play the last 3 games. He still only ended up 1 touchdown pass behind Russell Wilson with 33. Russell Wilson had 34. I'm surprised he didn't get more considerations for that. And so it wasn't just last year. I don't think it was a fluke. If you look at his rookie year, he was very solid as a rookie year also. This guy is very poised. He's a talented quarterback, and there's no real deficiencies in his game. Has very solid weapons around him. Got Mike Wallace, Nelson Aguilar, Alshon Jeffrey, Zach Ertz, Corey Clement. The only real question I have for him at this point is how he recovers from his surgery. And here are the reports that we've got up to this point. Wentz said he believes he's on track for week 1, although it doesn't sound like they're expecting him to play in the preseason. He went on to say that he doesn't plan on changing his aggressive playing style despite tearing his ACL. If you look at Carson Wentz, he's the real deal. He'll be a perennial All-Pro. This guy is very, very good. Number 5 for me is Drew Brees. Also like Tom Brady, he's had 3 consecutive years of a quarterback rating over 100, so age doesn't seem to be slowing him either. If you take a look at it, he's only missed 3 total games going all the way back to 2003. Now, if you take a look at this year coming up here, I think the Saints are going to certainly try to run the ball. They did that last year and had a lot of success. In some ways, the success of them running the ball hurts his overall numbers. But in many other ways, it actually also helps him. In fact, I think the fact that they're running the ball more effectively is going to lengthen his career. It's going to keep him healthier. It's going to make him more effective. And we saw that last year because he had a career best 72% completion rate last season. I think a lot of that was the fact that play action worked so well. They ran the ball so effectively. Teams were unable to put a lot of pressure on him. I think going into this year, there could be a little shift. Last year, once again, the fact they ran the ball so well kind of hurt his overall numbers. But I got to imagine that teams now facing the Saints are going to really focus on trying to take away that run. You look at last year, the New Orleans Saints had between Ingram and Kamara 25 touchdowns, 139 catches, and 3,094 yards. So I think defense are going to once again take a look at trying to take some of that away. Based on that, we could see an increase in his touchdown passes this year, and he could get back over 30. I think that's definitely within a reason, which he's done, by the way, 9 times in his career where he's had 30 touchdown passes or more. Then take a look at Drew Brees. He's a very safe pick. He's got a very high floor with potential of a big year ahead of him. I love the weapons around him. I love Meredith, Thomas, Ingram, Kamara. They give him great options in the passing game, so he is our number 5 quarterback at this point. Number 6, we got Ben Roethlisberger. And so many people don't realize that going back to 2012, last 6 seasons, right? You take his per game average statistically and you extrapolate that over 16 games, you average that out over a 16 game season, right? It turns out to be 31 touchdown passes per season. The last 4 years, he's averaged 298 yards passing per game. Now you had Juju Smith, Brown, Bell. There's no reason he doesn't end up between 28 to 32 touchdown passes this season. Here's another thing. In a lot of leagues, a lot of mock drafts, Ben Roethlisberger is falling down to the quarterback area of like 10, 11, 12, even 13 in some leagues. And so he's a guy that I have up there pretty high. I think he's a pretty solid, safe pick. He's going to have a good year. And you can get him quite a bit later according to the mock drafts that we are seeing at this point. I think the reason why that happens is that we live in a society today where people get enamored with the next new great thing. So people are excited about Goff and Watson and Mahomes, and they forget and overlook a really good player like Ben Roethlisberger, like Ben, number 6. So number 7, we get to Shawn Watson. Another very young, talented quarterback in the NFL. Now, if you take a look last year, it took him a few games to really learn that offense and get comfortable in the NFL. He didn't get a lot of first-team reps in the preseason. But after the first 3 games, if you look at after he kind of worked through some of those kinks on the offense, got into a groove, the next 4 games, right, before injuring his ACL, he had a quarterback rating in the next 4 games of 125, 120, 103, and 107. During that same 4-game stretch, he had 16 touchdown passes with 1 rushing touchdown. That pace will put him at 43 touchdown passes for the year. Now, here's what I expect for this guy going into 2018. I want to say this. I expect he's going to have a good year and a distinguished career. But I want to be careful about getting too hyped up on this guy. I don't think he's going to make it in the top 5 in quarterback scoring. Obviously, by my rankings would indicate that. I expect a slight slip in his play this year. His defense is now going to have a full year to take a look at him and some game film to prepare for him. They're going to adjust. Plus, he's recovering from an ACL injury, so I think that's going to hurt his numbers. But he's athletic, he's strong arm, he has great wideouts there, and he can run. Coach Bill O'Brien has said that he's retooled the playbook to cater to Watson's strengths. Many overs are going to reach too far for this guy. Don't be that guy that takes him too early, okay? With that said, this guy is very, very good. Number 8 is Andrew Luck. So if you take a look at the last 3 years, look at statistical breakdown, you projected over 16 games, he's averaging over 30 touchdown passes per season. He had over 40 touchdown passes a few years ago, which is very good. Now, with that said, I want to be very careful. I like Andrew Luck. I think he's a very good quarterback. Once again, 3-year statistical averages would have had 30 touchdown passes. He had 1 year of over 40. But the year they had 40 touchdown passes, there was an organization out there that used sabermetrics, and they began to study all the quarterbacks in the NFL, and they looked at all the throws that every quarterback made, and they looked at all the throws that should have been interceptions, but weren't because of maybe penalties, drops by the cornerback, or where the wide receiver had to become a corner to defend against that. And what they found was Andrew Luck would have led all quarterbacks to interceptions that year. So he had a very good year, but I don't want to get too caught up in the hype. It was by sheer luck that he didn't have more interceptions that year. No pun intended, of course. So Andrew Luck can run a little bit. That's something we overlook. He actually has decent mobility for a big guy. He has a good understanding of the position. He's gifted, strong arm. He's your prototypical quarterback. He's very talented. Now the Colts added Eric Ebron, which I think is a good thing. Now they got Eric Ebron and Doyle at tight ends. The reason why I think this is important for him, Andrew Luck, if you look at the percentage of throws to tight ends, he leads all quarterbacks in terms of how many times percentage-wise he targets his tight ends. Do I have concerns with Andrew Luck? Well, I do. Besides Hilton, they're really not loaded with a lot of weapons there. They could really use some more wideouts there to help him. Colts GM Chris Ballard also confirmed that Andrew Luck's shoulder is not throwing the football yet, and that's concerning for me because last year, there was all these mixed reports going into the year. They said, no, he's going to be fine. He'll play. He might miss a week. They're very quiet about it. And as we know, he missed the entire year. So they've been very quiet about his recovery. With that said, the Colts went on to say that Luck is doing fine, that a lot of his exercises are conducive to the same as throwing a football. And it went on to say that Indy's decision to trade down to number 3 shows the team is confident in Luck's long-term health and the fact that he should be starting this year. Number 9 for me is Cam Newton. So if you take a look at Cam Newton, right, he had an MVP year back in 2015, and so many others got excited. For some people, he was number 1 overall pick. He was definitely taken in the first round in many, many drafts. And that, of course, disappointed a lot of years. He went out and he had a very bad season. A lot of people are shocked by that, but not us here at FFP. In fact, if you look at our preseason rankings on our website, what we said, and this is the quote from the web, it said, buyer beware before you expect him to repeat those numbers of 2015. Last year was an aberration. Took a look at Cam Newton, right? Besides 2015, he's never had a quarterback rating of over 88. The most TD passes he's ever thrown is 24, besides that year. And that's concerning when you consider the fact they had Steve Smith there, who was a great wide receiver. Besides 2015, the 6 other seasons, he's only averaged 20.5 TD passes to 14 interceptions. That's not a great ratio. And so why do I have him ranked number 9? Well, here's why. I think he's only a slightly above average quarterback, but he's a great football player and he's a great athlete. His ability to run the ball and rush for TDs is what keeps him relevant in fantasy terms. Don't expect him to return to his form in 2015, okay? But here's why I have him in the top 10, why I have him number 9. He averages 8 rushing touchdowns per year and 617 yards, so he's just slightly above average quarterback, but he's a great quarterback in terms of running the ball. Those 8 touchdown passes, you got to put those numbers on there. That puts him near the top. Concerns I have for him, he takes a lot of hits. He's big, he's physical. That's going to take a toll on his body. He's 6'5", 245 pounds, although some people say he weighs more than that. He's big, he's physical, he's athletic. In fact, it almost makes it unfair to corners and linebackers who have to meet him out in open field. So really, it's his feet that keep him relevant in fantasy terms. That's why I have him at number 9 there. Number 10 is Kirk Cousins. So the last 3 years when he's been the starter, he's averaged 27 touchdown passes per year with 4,392 passing yards. Those are decent numbers, but people don't realize the last 3 years also had 13 total rushing TDs. It's been kind of quiet that he's done that. He had 5, 4, and 4 those 3 years. Now he moves from Washington to the Vikings, and I think that's a huge move for him because Washington didn't have great weapons last couple years. Their best weapon probably was their tight end Jordan, who was hurt a lot. So he gets a huge upgrade in his weapons with Diggs, Thielen, Rudolph, I should say, and Delvin Cooks. And Delvin Cooks is a great wide receiver in terms of his ability to catch the ball in the backfield. I think this is the year that easily breaks 30 touchdown passes. I like Kirk Cousins in the 10 spot. So number 11 is Matthew Stafford. Well, he has averaged 28 touchdown passes per season since the second season he was in the league. He had his best year of 41 touchdown passes in 2011. He is by most people's standards underrated. He has good weapons around him: Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, Kenny Galladay, which, by the way, Kenny's got he's a very talented young wide receiver there. He plays indoors. That bodes very well for him come the winter months. And he's really cut down his interceptions significantly since 2013. In fact, last year, his best quarterback rating, just missing 100, he finished at 99.3. At the age of 30, he has many, many good years ahead of him. Feels like he's been around forever, but he started so young in the NFL. Once again, at 30, he's got many solid years ahead of him. Number 12 for me is Jared Goff. The former first overall pick had a breakout year last year, finishing with a quarterback rating of 100.5 and 28 TD passes to only 7 picks. Jared is loaded with weapons around him. He's got Wood, Kupp, Cooks, Gurley. He's in a great system playing for a great quarterback coach from McVay. So I know a lot of people have him ranked a lot higher. In fact, a lot of you probably think number 12 is pretty low for this guy. Well, I'll tell you why I'm not quick to buy into him. I think he's good. I think he's got a good future ahead of him. But here are some of the concerns that I have. Now, hear me out on this before you get too jacked up on this guy. Okay. Once again, I was tempted to move him up, put him ahead of guys like Big Ben and others, but I played it safe with Goff. Here's why. One, he's had one horrible year and one really good year. So we got to see what's really going to happen there. Now, I think he's the real deal. But concerns I have, if you look back at last year with Jared Goff, he was very predictable. Against pass defenses, he had great games. He padded stats. But against good pass defense, he really struggled. Listen to these numbers real quick to put that in perspective. In 6 games, okay, in 6 games against bad pass defenses, during those 6 games, he totaled 17 touchdown passes to 0 interceptions. During those same 6 games, he had quarterback ratings of 118, 146, 147, 125, 112, and 118 against teams like Indy, San Francisco, the Giants, Houston, Philly, and Tennessee. 5 of those 6 teams finished in the bottom third in pass defense. They were bad defenses. Now, if you take a look at him when he played some good defenses, he really struggled. So I think what we can look at, and here's what I think we can take with Jared Goff. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's got a bright future. I think he's very good. But I think it shows he's got some maturing still to do before we can consider him a top-tier quarterback at this point. I'm just going to play it safe with this guy. I still like him, but I don't like him in the top 10. Number 13 is Derek Carr. So Derek Carr trended upwards the first 3 years. He kept seeing an increase. His quarterback rate and his stats, he was getting better and better. And then looked like he was ready to take that step into Tier 1 quarterback conversation. And last year he took a step back. And why is that? Well, it's real simple. He suffered a back injury. But if you take a look at the first 6 games, he had a quarterback rating of over 100 4 times. He had a he had a TD to interception ratio of 11-4. And not only he suffered back injury, but his best weapon, wide receiver Amari Cooper, was hurt often and often played injured. He had ankle and shoulder injuries. Well, Carr's healthy, Cooper's healthy, and then you add in the addition of Jordy Nelson and Coach John Gruden. And John Gruden's going to help him quite a bit. In fact, if you look at it, he's done great with quarterbacks in the past. He helped Brad Johnson and Rich Gannon become all pros during their time with him. Number 14 is Philip Rivers. So I look at Philip Rivers, he's a gunslinger. Reminds me very much of Brett Favre, very Favre-esque in his approach to the game. 5 times in his career, he's had over 30 touchdown passes. Now, here's the concerns I have for Philip Rivers. He's kind of a safe pick. The Chargers defense is a very good defense. They've improved quite a bit. Now, why is that a concern? Well, if you look at Philip Rivers in the past, he padded a lot of those statistics late in games where they were far behind. That Chargers defense wasn't very good, and they had to throw a lot just to stay in games. This year, they're not going to have to do that. The defense is solid. They're going to keep them in a lot of games, and he won't need to throw for 300 yards to keep them in there. He's a guy that has a very solid floor, decent but not a great ceiling if you take a look at him. Number 15 is Jimmy Garoppolo. So after being traded from New England to San Francisco, each game he got better and better as he got more comfortable in that offense. He won all 5 of his starts. He has a skill and the poise to be a great NFL quarterback. He has a career quarterback rating of 99.7. So what are my concerns with him? Well, I really need to see that quarterback rating over a longer period of time. He's only played in 23 career games. Also, his weapons, if you look at Garcon and Goodwin, they're not awe-inspiring weapons right there. I think they could really use to surround him with some better weapons. Maybe they'll draft some guys. Maybe they'll get a wide receiver in the first round. I don't know. So for that reason, because I just need to see a bigger sample size from him and the weapons aren't great on that team, he's not a top 10 quarterback for me. But this could be his breakout year, and he's definitely somebody to take a chance on. So number 16, I got Pat Mahomes. Now, once again, I'm going to have to watch a preseason, see how this guy progresses, see how he does, start getting reports from Kansas City. What should you expect from Pat Mahomes? Well, think of Watson last year, the Shawn Watson, right? Now, the difference between Mahomes and Watson is this. Watson's really a better runner coming out of college, no doubt about it. A little bit better legs. But Pat Mahomes is a better quarterback coming out of college. Where we get so enamored with Watson, people forget that Mahomes was actually drafted higher, first round 10th overall pick, and was the highest ranked quarterback going into the draft by many people. There's a reason why the Chiefs felt comfortable trading away Alex Smith after his Pro Bowl season. He's got very good weapons around him. You got Travis Kelce, Hill, Hunt, Watkins. Sky's the limit for this young quarterback. With that said, there's a learning curve in the NFL, especially when it comes to quarterbacks. So I really need to see him kind of show me a few things before I get too excited. But he's a guy you got to keep an eye on. He has the ability, he has the skills to become a top 10 quarterback like so many others that we have discussed. So number 17 is Matt Ryan. So some of you out there wondering, is he going to rebound his MVP season of 2016? No, he's not going to. Don't buy that rebound hype. If you followed us last year at FFP here, we strongly cautioned against expecting Matt to put up great numbers again. We said don't take him early, don't overpay for him. Here's what we said in our 2017 preseason notes regarding Matt Ryan. Here's what we said. Here's my prediction. Last year was a bit of an aberration. It was the first time Matt had a quarterback rating of over 100, and only the second time in his career he had 30 touchdown passes. This is somewhat concerning when you consider the weapons around him used to consist of Roddy White, Tony Gonzalez, and Julio Jones. Besides last year, he's routinely underachieved. Also consider the fact that he lost offensive coordinator and quarterback guru Kyle Shanahan, who went to the 49ers. Don't be pressured to take him too early because of last year's bumper year. So I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was last year. He's not going to be in his MVP form there of 2016. We expect him to rebound to a range of about 23 to 25 touchdown passes. Not a bad pick, but not a stud. What's going to happen is Manny's going to remember his MVP season. They're going to overpay, they're going to overreach for this guy. Don't make that mistake. He'll sit around the 12 to 18 quarterback range. If he slips, grab him. He's a nice play. He's not a great play. So number 18 is Eli Manning. So Eli has been a good quarterback at times in his career. He's not been a great quarterback. He's nothing like his brother Peyton Manning. And now coming off a bad year at age 37, is he a guy that we should even keep an eye on? Is he even relevant at all? And I would say definitely keep an eye on this guy. If you look at his struggles last year, most of his struggles came because that offensive line was terrible for the Giants. Now, the Giants in the offseason put a lot of money, time, and effort into building the offensive line up. They're going to be a greatly improved offensive line. Now he's going to get Odell Beckham back, who's healthy. That moves Sterling Shepard to the number 2 guy, and Sterling Shepard is a very good wide receiver. Got Evan Ingram, a stud tight end, a young guy who's got a lot of skills in that position. There's even talk of Des Bryant joining them. To make things even better for Eli Manning, now he has new coach Sherman. So you look at Coach Sherman, what he did in the past as an offensive coordinator, he did wonders for Case Keenum, Sam Bradford, and Nick Foles. In fact, as his offensive coordinator for Nick Foles in 2013, Nick Foles had 27 touchdown passes to only 2 interceptions. He had a phenomenal year. So I think he's going to do wonders to help Eli Manning get back on track. Eli could be a nice late round steal, or he could be a nice matchup play during the year. Number 19 is Jameis Winston. He has improved his quarterback rate in all 3 years he's been in the league. He's very talented. Concerns I have for them, he showed some immaturity last year, some attitude issues that I think are a bit concerning. But if he can get that under control, if that attitude doesn't get to be too much of an issue, if he can control himself emotionally on the field, he has the gifts to be a top 10, top 15 quarterback. Keep an eye on him. Number 20 is Tyrod Taylor. And so let's take a look at Tyrod Taylor. I'm not a big fan, honestly, of him. I'm not a big fan of Tyrod Taylor. His move from Buffalo to Brownsville has got my attention, and here's why. This guy finally has some good weapons around him. He's got Josh Gordon, Duke Johnson. That running back has great hands out of the backfield. Last year had 74 catches for a running back. He has Corey Coleman, David Njoku, and Jarvis Landry now. So this guy's got a ton of weapons around him. He can run. He's had some huge games in the NFL, but he does disappear at times. He'll have a huge game, look like maybe he's going to turn that corner, get over that hump to become a very good quarterback, and then he'll just disappear for a couple of games. So he has some upside, but he's been inconsistent. And another concern I have for him is the likelihood that Cleveland drafts a franchise quarterback is very high at this point. I guess we'll find out tomorrow night. So kind of here's where we're going to get into quarterbacks that are going to fall into that range of guys that maybe you're going to watch for their progress, keep an eye on them, but don't draft. Guys maybe you're going to use for bye weeks or plug-in plays based on matchups, but not somebody you're going to draft and expect to become your starter. So that enters in number 21 for me is Andy Dalton. He had his best year in 2015. He's been a solid quarterback, but not a great fantasy quarterback. Now he's got a new offensive coordinator. Maybe that will help turn things around. As of now, he's a bye week replacement. Sometimes a matchup plug and play based on the team that he's playing, but not a viable week-to-week starter. Number 22 for me is Case Keenum. Obviously, love what I did for the Vikes last year, being a Vikings fan. So you have to ask yourself this question. Case Keenum last year, was it his talent or was it the fact that the offensive coordinator Sherman there who's done wonders with quarterbacks? If you remember correctly, Case Keenum before last year hasn't been a very good quarterback. And there's a lot of talk that Denver's looking at drafting a franchise quarterback in the first round. So I've just got to drop him down a little bit there. Number 23 is Dak Prescott. I really like this kid, honestly. In fact, I feel bad I have him ranked at number 23, and I'll get to why he's so low in a second. Because you look at Dak, he's got all the skills to have a great NFL career. The biggest thing he's lacking, he needs weapons around him at this point. Now, last year, Dak owners saw a 20-point drop in his QBR his sophomore year, and that disappointed a lot of owners. Also in the fact that he had less yards and one less touchdown pass. And so what's going on with him? Well, I expect he's going to rebound to his rookie status. If you look at the first 6 games last year, okay, he looked great. In the first 6 games, he had 14 touchdown passes, only 4 interceptions, on pace for 37 touchdown passes for the year. Okay. He has all the skills. He's athletic, poised, he's strong arm, he can run. So what happened last year? Why did he struggle so much? Well, if you take a look at what happened after the first 6 games, is Ezekiel ended up being out for a while, and that really hurt play action. That team really thrives off of play action. If play action was hurt, offensive line was banged up. I think they'll get those issues straight, and offensive line will be healthy. Ezekiel Elliott will be there for a full 16 games. Once again, the concerns that I have for him right now is he just needs some help. He needs more weapons around him. Jason Witten is old at this point. Des Bryant is gone. His best wideout is Alan Hearns. So I think that's something that they need to take care of. And maybe they will bring a couple guys in. Maybe they'll draft a guy. If so, he may rise up our rankings. Number 24 for me is Marcus Mariota. Well, what happened last year? Well, there could be a lot of things there, but I think the bottom line is he needs some improvement in his wide receiver play. He needs better wide receivers around him. Adding Deion Lewis at running back is going to help. He could rebound, but I've seen nothing significant in the offseason that makes me think that there's going to be a huge rebound. There's no indications for me that's going to happen this year. Number 25 is Alex Smith. Alex Smith is a good NFL quarterback. He is. In fact, he's very underrated. But besides last year, he's a good quarterback, but he's not a good fantasy football quarterback. He's what we call a good game manager. Now he left Kansas City, and he's playing for the Redskins. The problem with that is he actually left good weapons. Now, right now, Washington doesn't have a ton of weapons. He's got some guys with some potential there that may develop. Maybe Jordan Reed can stay healthy, but there's certainly a few concerns there. Number 26 is Sam Bradford. Sam can be a proficient quarterback, but he struggles to stay healthy. That's the bottom line. The guy can't stay healthy. Number 27, got Ryan Tannehill. Before last year's injury, he was really trending upwards, looked good. Concerns I have, one, he's recovering from an injury. He lost his best wide out. Landry got traded away, and really the best wide receiver at this point is Parker, although he's really underachieved at this point, so I'm not going to give him too high in my rank. Number 28 is Blake Bortles. Blake, at best, is a plug-and-play for bye weeks for the right matchups. If you take a look at Jacksonville, that team is going to win on playing defense and running the ball with Fournette. They're not going to rely on him throwing the ball too much if they can help it. Number 29 is Joe Flacco. He's been overrated for years. He had some good postseason success that overinflated his value, but the Ravens, just like the Jags, their strength is in defense there. Number 30, we've got Josh McCown. We've got Teddy Bridgewater. Honestly, I don't think either one of those guys will be starting. I expect the Jets are going to draft a starting quarterback to be their franchise quarterback. Number 31 is Nick Foles. He's really just a good handcuff for Wentz owners. The other thing I would say is Nick Foles might have value if they get traded. We'll wait and see what happens the next 3 days when the NFL draft happens. There is a likelihood that he could get traded to another team and move into a good position. He may go up the standings, but right now he's simply a handcuff for Carson Wentz. Number 32 is Mitch Trubisky. He made some good strides last year. With that said, he's not worth it in fantasy. Now, a lot of people are going to begin to make comparisons to Jared Goff, the leap he made the second year, but there's a big difference. One, Goff had a better system, a better coach he was playing for in terms of offense, and he had just much better weapons around him, so don't expect that sort of jump quite yet from Mitch Trubisky. Number 33 is A.J. McCarron. Just like the Jets, we assume that the Bills will draft a quarterback. Only time will tell. Thanks again for watching the video. Do us a favor, subscribe, like, share it out there. We're going to come with more videos, more mock draft information. We're just going to unload better stuff for you so that you can be effective this year and hopefully win your fantasy championship. Thank you for watching. We appreciate it. God bless and take care.